Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. I'm grateful to be asked for my point of view on access to information. Unlike Vincent and Duff, I am not a subject matter expert, and my history on the file is not long. For the past 15 months, I've run a small alternative news website, the Rebel.media, and by nature we are contrarians, so access to information is important to us. First of all, we don't have a large enough staff to cover all the news events we would like in real time, especially in Ottawa, so access to information is important to us, and I think it's going to be more important to other media whose staffs are shrinking. But more important, even if we had a large staff, the news, at least critical, skeptical news, is not always found at official public events chosen and scripted by the powers that be. Even question period, although it can sometimes uncover some fact, it's not called answer period for a reason. And again, there are some issues that even opposition parties don't want to talk about. So that's my motivation and my background. In the past 15 months, our little news outlet has filed hundreds of access to information requests at all levels of government and institutions. But the most troubling case comes from Ottawa. And that's why I accepted the invitation to come here. I don't have the background of my friends, but I have a story I'd like to share with you. And the documents I'm referring to are posted on a website called stonewalling.ca if you want to examine them at your leisure. Let me give you an example of a contrarian story that doesn't fit into photo op journalism and frankly doesn't fit into the kind of journalism that risk-averse opposition parties might ask about. It's the kind of thing that only a cranky independent news outlet might do. I refer to, for example, my one example today is the great immigration project of bringing 25 or 50,000 Syrian migrants to Canada in short order. And there were crafted photo op opportunities, even in Amman, Jordan, watching migrants fill out questions on a questionnaire and being processed. So there was the official news that was available to everyone. But we asked one simple question in an access to information request. We said, we saw the images of the questions being asked. Can we please have a copy of the questionnaire? So that was a little bit contrarian. That wasn't the photo op journalism. And frankly, I don't think it's an issue that even the opposition parties want to talk about because they want to be a little more sunny ways. So we got a response on January 5th from the Immigration Department, from Audrey White, who said no such questionnaire existed. But I saw with my own eyes Minister Sajan and Minister McCallum watching in a room as migrants, would-be migrants to Canada, were asked questions. So we wrote back and we said, okay, maybe there's a word game going on here. So we asked for, quote, the list of questions, list of topics, checklist, form, screening criteria, or however it is being referred to internally. Like, can we just see the questions? It's a real journalistic ask. And we were replied to again on January 27th and told no such documents exist. Well, that can't be. So we wrote back a third time, quoting and citing a link to a news story in which the minister himself talks about the questionnaire. And finally, we got a letter back on March 9th, and you can see all of these documents at stonewalling.ca. So on March 9th, finally they discovered that they did, in fact, have a questionnaire, which we knew because we saw the questions being asked. Admitting that they had them, but saying they couldn't give those questions to us for various reasons, including national security reasons. But I guess anyone who walks in from Syria could get those questions. They could hear them themselves. They're not a security risk, but I'm a security risk for asking them. That doesn't make sense. Let me give you another example from the same department. You can see this document on stonewalling.ca also. We asked a simple question because we understood from press reports that the Turkish government was helping to provide the list of names that were being brought over. So we asked if there were any issues or concerns regarding the Turkish government being delegated that list-building activity. And Hélène Bertrand wrote back and demanded a 300-day extension. A 300-day extension? 300 days? I've never heard of that before. I guess it was too much to ask for more than 365. But there was a line in there that I want to bring to the attention, especially of the governing party MPs, because I don't think this is in tune with the Prime Minister's statements on transparency. This morning I watched the Prime Minister's video, and I went through the Liberal Party website about transparency and the default being to have openness. I watched that, and I know especially new MPs for the government must still be enthusiastic and idealistic. And so I ask, especially the government MPs, if this line is appropriate, coming from a civil servant in the Trudeau administration. Let me quote from Hélène Bertrand, explaining the 300-day exemption, which is another way of saying we won't tell you the answer until any news value is gone here, any chance to raise public policy concerns are gone. This is what Hélène Bertrand wrote to us. It is to be noted that at this point of the process, the department is working to meet the mandate on Syrian refugees set by the Prime Minister of Canada, unquote. Okay, that's great, but what does that have to do with someone whose job is access to information? She's not flying to Amman, Jordan to help intake refugees. She's not actually affecting the project. Her job is to get the emails, run the photocopier. I don't know if that was her way of deflecting blame onto the Prime Minister's office, but she named him in particular and said, he said we all have to be hands on deck. What's that got to do with someone whose particular job is to furnish documents? I don't believe she left the photocopier and got on a plane to Amman to help with the work. Ms. Bertrand said the same thing and asked for a 300-day extension when we asked a question about media reports of migrants who were detained at Pearson Airport when the Prime Minister himself went to meet them. I was concerned. Why were they detained at Pearson? Were they detained? Were press reports accurate? Hélène Bertrand said, we can't tell you that urgent public policy answer for 300 days because the PM says we've all got to work together. That doesn't sound in keeping with the spirit of what I watched the Prime Minister say about transparency. And again, we asked about how the religious needs of migrants were being met. And again, on January 6th, we were told that answer would take 275 days to... I hope that this is not the spirit of the new government. A government that won, in part, in my observation, by promising more transparency and openness and the default setting to be open. I would close, all these documents you can review with your own eyes at stonewalling.ca. And frankly, if you could light a fire under the department to help us get those answers, I'd be grateful. But let me turn the clock back a few years and imagine if it was the old administration, if Prime Minister Stephen Harper was the PM, and during the extreme situation of the war in Afghanistan, imagine if someone at the Department of National Defense's Access to Information Office wrote back and said, well, yes, you have a very simple and precise question, but the Prime Minister has said we're in a war and all efforts must be put towards prosecuting that, and so because the Prime Minister says that, we cannot give you an answer for 300 days because we're too busy. Well, the importance of the Afghan war itself means access to information is even more important. The importance of this central project of bringing 25 to 50,000 migrants means public scrutiny and accountability is all the more important. It's not an excuse for not complying. Now, I don't know if that was a bureaucrat passing the blame to the big boss, or if she was honestly saying that's why I can't answer it. But 275-day, 300-day, I think we have a 330-day extension. That is the same as a stonewall. What's the point in telling me the news about a questionnaire being used in 2016 if I don't get the answers until 2017? So I have come here not as an expert as my friends are, and not someone with a deep history here, but someone who over the last 15 months has done hundreds of access to information requests at many levels of government and to some non-governmental institutions like schools and hospitals. And it is my candid report that I have not seen any response from any institution as resistant as those I've just described. I've never seen anyone else ask for a one-year extension, and I've never seen anyone else fudge, well, there's no questionnaire. I saw it with my eyes. The minister referred to it. I've never had anyone else say a questionnaire that the public is asked is a national security secret to you. So that's why I was here. That's why I accepted the invitation to raise a particular issue that may be a symptom of a larger problem. Thanks for letting me have my minute, or 10 or 20.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.